Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon, and this is really big news. This is a dismal day for Disney. Gina Carano is filing a lawsuit against Disney and Lucasfilm for wrongful termination, and Elon Musk is paying for it. Yeah, Elon Musk, who famously told Bob Iger to go F himself, is bankrolling a lawsuit to basically let Gina Carano tell Bob Iger to go F himself as well, the day before their earnings call. So that's going to be really awkward. That's going to be a really awkward thing. They'll probably just step right over it, but this is not good news for them. And the thing is that there are precedents now. We have precedents that, people can sue for defamation, wrongful termination, and they can win. And I do remember Elon Musk asking people several months ago if anyone had been fired as a result of cancel culture, he would personally help fund the legal costs. So Elon Musk is going to use Gina Carano's case to stick it to Disney. They're both going to stick it to Disney. So if you're wondering if she's going to go back to Star Wars, I think the answer is probably no. Let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, Geeky is not here. I actually texted her. I said, "You want me to wait?" And she said, no. Go ahead and do this one. The Hollywood Reporter has it. Gina Carano sues Disney over Mandalorian firing in lawsuit funded by Elon Musk. The actress claims the entertainment giant discriminated against her for voicing right-wing opinions on hot-button issues. Actually, her opinions were relatively mild, I thought. You look at the actual tweets, they were relatively mild. And, if they told her to stop tweeting or whatever, that's one thing. But we know that they wanted her to have a come to Jesus moment, and that they were going to dogpile her and tell her she had to mend her ways. And they smeared her publicly. They did. They defamed her publicly. And they basically said she was a bigot and a racist and a blah, 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 blah. And that's why they parted ways with her. But yeah, that's how she found out she was fired. They put a statement out. All right, Hollywood Reporter. In an escalation of a standoff over her firing in The Mandalorian, Gina Carano is suing Disney and Lucasfilm for discrimination and wrongful termination in a lawsuit that opens another front in the battlefield for influence over Hollywood that has drawn in corporate America. Again, this I think, signals the end of cancel culture, at least in entertainment. Things are definitely changing. Carano, in a complaint filed Tuesday in a California federal court, alleges she was fired for voicing right-wing opinions on social media and seeks a court order that would force, never mind. She's seeking a court order that would force Lucasfilm to recast her. So she does want to go back. But God, that would be awkward, wouldn't it? I wouldn't want to go back. Damn. Elon Musk making good on a promise to foot the legal bill for users who claim they have been discriminated against due to their activity on his platform is helping fund the suit through X. Yeah, he said he was going to do that. Anybody that was canceled because of tweets or whatever, he was going to help. So I'm reacting to this for the first time, guys. I if it were me, I'd just tell them to go fuck themselves. Personally, I would not go back. But in a statement X's head of business operations, Joe Benarock, said, as a sign of X Corp's commitment to free speech, we're proud to provide financial support for Gina Carano's lawsuit, empowering her to seek vindication of her free speech rights on X and the ability to work without bullying, harassment, or discrimination. Lucasfilm in 2021 announced that she will not be returning to the hit series after sharing a post implying that being a Republican is like being Jewish during the Holocaust. It's not exactly what she was saying. She said basically that the powers that be try to turn your neighbors against you. And, it's kind of how we all lose. But it's the latest in a long string of posts in which the former MMA fighter drew the ire of social media users for her right-wing positions on hot-button issues. Meanwhile, Pedro Pascal can give his hot takes on left-wing issues. Now, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Like, I think in both cases, they should be free to express their opinions, right? But we know that there are people at Lucasfilm who didn't want her there because of her beliefs. And, this comes days after R.I.P. Carl Weathers passed, and she actually publicly thanked the late, great Carl Weathers for standing by her. He said, I think she said something to the effect of, Carl did not throw me away, So Carano, who was dropped by UTA, that'd be her talent agency, following the controversy, previously mocked government mandates to wear masks during the COVID pandemic and falsely suggested that voter fraud occurred during the 2020 presidential election. That's a whole nother issue. Depends on who you ask. According to the complaint, Disney and Lucasfilm harassed and defamed Carano for refusing to conform with their viewpoints on issues relating to Black Lives Matter, preferred pronouns. That was the one I remember. I don't remember the Black Lives Matter, but she did not put her pronouns in her profile, and other Lucasfilm employees did not put their pronouns in their profile either. And all these sock puppet accounts were coming after her. And disproven claims of election interference. That I cannot speak to. I don't remember seeing those two. I do know that the pronouns thing was what I thought at least got her gone, or at least put her in the crosshairs, because they were gunning for her as soon as she said she wasn't going to use pronouns. While she was allegedly fired for her cultural and religious beliefs, Carano argues the entertainment giant turned a blind eye to her and her male co-stars, who allegedly made offensive and denigrating posts directed toward Republicans. Well, Pedro Pascal, he was out there saying all kinds of stuff. I'm just saying. I mean, he can, but so can she. The suit says Disney required Carano to meet with a representative of the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Discrimination and demanded a public apology. Yeah, so if it was about election interference, if it was about Black Lives Matter, if that was the issue, why did she have to meet with the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Discrimination? Why was glad to be there? You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely over the pronouns thing. I'm just saying. Defendants went so far as to try and convince Carano's publicist to force Carano to issue a statement admitting to mocking or insulting an entire group of people, which Carano had never done. The complaint states. She gave an interview on Ben Shapiro, and she said, it was weird. They cornered me, and they're like, you need to give an apology. You need to apologize now. After she refused, Carano was told to meet with Kathleen Kennedy and 45 employees who identify as LGBTQ+. Again, if this was actually about Black Lives Matter, or actually about election interference, or actually about mask mandates, why did she have to meet with 45 LGBTQ+ employees? They're just kind of throwing that in there to get, but it really was about the pronouns. I'll just say it, right? It was about the pronouns. It was 100% about the pronouns. She declined and was terminated shortly after from The Mandalorian. She found out about it in the media, I guess, which is a huge kick to the balls. She was going to be in Rangers of the New Republic, which I think probably would have been a hit, but there we go. Carano brings claims for wrongful discharge and sex discrimination. She seeks a court order that would force Lucasfilm to recast her and at least $75,000, that's it, plus punitive damages. Her career was basically destroyed, at least her mainstream career. I mean, she's doing stuff at the Daily Wire, and people are like, oh, the Daily Wire. Yeah, I'm like, but it's the Daily Wire. It's not Disney, right? You know what I'm saying? It's not like a major Hollywood tentpole. She's kind of in the underground, and she's not landing these big fat roles that she was before. And I think it's Lucasfilm. This is the thing too. People don't understand. I think Disney is very compartmentalized in that regard. I think this was a Lucasfilm decision. People said that Tim Allen got kicked out of Disney for being conservative. I'm like, I think Pixar didn't want him back for Lightyear. I think that is true. I 100% think that's true. But I think Disney in general is happy to work with him because he makes them money. They gave him a Santa Claus series. He's got 2 seasons of it. He's not canceled in that regard. I personally think it's individual divisions at Disney, that have some autonomy making decisions like this, but not the company as a whole. I mean, maybe she could have worked at some other part of Disney, because I know she was on that reality show, that outdoor reality show. I forget what it was off the top of my head, but you know what I'm saying? But definitely Lucasfilm had it in for her. At-will employees who make up the majority of private sector workers often face an uphill climb to obtain damages for terminations over problematic online posts deemed to be offensive and in violation of workplace policies. I think what they're going to do is be like, if it's about being political, her co-stars also made political posts. Mark Hamill is constantly making political posts, not to drag Mark Hamill into it, but I'm just saying. And they're welcome. Somebody else that kind of gets the shaft from Lucasfilm is James Earl Jones, one of the most prominent black actors, we've had in the last 50 years, right? And they ignore him, I think, because his beliefs are fairly conservative. I mean, you know, they will give high fives to like the sequel trilogy stars on their birthdays, but they won't acknowledge James Earl Jones because he said some things he shouldn't say. How dare he? We're happy to use your voice, James. We're happy to turn you into a robot and use your AI voice forever for Darth Vader, but you know, we don't like you personally. And I think this is people like Pablo Hidalgo and some of these other weirdos at Lucasfilm. I think they're just like, it's a mess. They need to clean Lucasfilm up. Unlike employees in the public sector, online workers are not shielded against discipline under the First Amendment. Last year, Musk pledged to fund legal activity for users on X who claimed they have faced discrimination by their employers over their activity on the platform. The offer came with no limit on costs, with Musk saying he would go after the board of directors of the companies too. Again, this is right before their earnings call. And they're already coming under fire from conservative Nelson Peltz. We've got Jay Rizzullo in there. We've got a lot of people putting pressure on Disney to stop being so damn political. And now this thing drops the day before. You don't think there are going to be questions? I don't know if those questions are going to be allowed to be asked. You know, so here's her tweet. Today is an important day for me. I'm filing a lawsuit against Lucasfilm and Disney after my 20 years of building a career from scratch and during the regime of former Disney CEO Bob Chapek. Lucasfilm made this statement on Twitter, terminating me from The Mandalorian. Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm, and there are no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. That is going to bite them in the ass. I'm telling you right now, in court, they're going to be like, yeah, but you let other Lucasfilm employees that have different cultural beliefs and different political opinions say whatever they want. So apparently this is not an across the board, evenly enforced rule, is it? So she was targeted because of her personal beliefs. Because if you said no political posting on social media, then all of your Star Wars stars need to shut up. You know, Pablo Hidalgo needs to shut up. They need to stop posting. The Lucasfilm Story Group, they need to shut up. They need to not talk about politics at all. Mark Hamill needs to not talk about politics at all if he's going to be associated with Lucasfilm, right? Or you're going to throw him under the bus, right? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, she continues, nothing could be further from the truth. The truth is I was always being hunted down from everything I posted to every post I liked because I was not in line with the acceptable narrative of the time. Again, of the time. Cancel culture is ending, at least in the pop culture space. Like it's ending, and it's ending fast, and it's going to take a few high profile lawsuits to put the freaking nail in the casket, right? I hope she wins. If for no other reason, then it needs to send a message that this is bullshit. Like this needs to stop. She was fired over faux outrage on Twitter, and it was probably a bunch of sock puppet accounts. They probably weren't even real people. You know, it's probably a handful of people. It was probably a Lucasfilm sock puppet accounts, honestly. It's probably a handful of activists working at Lucasfilm that wanted to get her fired. My words are constantly twisted to demonize me, she says, and dehumanize me as an alt-right wing extremist. Yeah, we're supposedly alt-right wing extremists, and I was a Democrat, straight Democrat, voted Democrat till like 2016. And I didn't vote in 2016 because I was so disgusted by both candidates. I just didn't vote. I'm just saying. It doesn't matter. You're still right-wing to these people because they're super far left and they're crazy. It was a bullying smear campaign aimed at silencing, destroying, and making an example out of me. Thing is, I never even used aggressive language. No, she didn't. I shared thought-provoking quotes, pictures, memes, and occasionally I used my own words, not with aggression, but with respect and the occasional comedy to keep the mood light in dark times. Look with your own eyes at what I posted and ask yourself, for example, where did I compare Republicans to Jewish people in the Holocaust? I didn't. Yeah, I took the post to mean that authorities are very good at turning your neighbors against you because you basically do the work for them, right? That's it. And we've seen it. We've been seeing it for years. Like if you're narking on your neighbor, and that's kind of the whole crux of cancel culture. If you're narking on your neighbor, they don't have to silence your neighbor. You're going to silence your neighbor for them. So they don't need as many people because they have a bunch of willing foot soldiers doing the work for them. Look, why was I called a transphobe for making droid noises from Star Wars? Beep, bop, boop. Was obviously directed to the online bullies and did not in any way denigrate transgender people. Yeah, J.K. Rowling said things a lot more definitively than she did, and she's not canceled. I'm just saying. Were my questions about masks, lockdown, forced vaccines okay to ask and push the subject into the light? Should we have been allowed to publicly discuss those topics at that time without being harassed or censored? Absolutely. Yeah, we should have been. We were allowed to. My wife, she made a comment, and she actually got the vaccine. She made a comment that she was having issues, medical issues, female medical issues. She wasn't allowed to. She'd get dog collars. Like, hey, anybody else having the same problems I'm having ever since they got their shot? And like all these randos would come out and be like, you can't say that. You're keeping grandma from dying. Then it turns out that like that's not actually the case. And even Gavin Newsom's like, yeah, we made a lot of mistakes. I'm like, you think? You think you did. Yeah, I think you did. Hollywood says they support female representation and equal rights. Why then were my male co-stars permitted to speak without harassment and re-education courses or termination, but I was not afforded the same right to exercise my freedom of speech? That is what's going to get them. That is what's going to get them. Because again, Pedro Pascal, don't agree with his politics. I don't want the guy to get canceled. I think he's an okay actor. Right? But he was allowed to freely express whatever opinion he wanted to, as long as it was a right opinion, not a right-wing opinion, as long as it was the correct opinion, according to the people in charge of Lucasfilm outside San Francisco. I'm just saying, artists do not sign away our rights as American citizens when we enter into employment. I've spoken to all my co-stars since I was fired, and there's nothing but care and kind words between us. I respect their right to free speech and do not have to think the same way on every issue to be their friend and work with them. I know they feel the same way toward me. That's how it used to be. A couple months ago, Elon Musk tweeted if you had been fired from using the platform X, then Twitter, for exercising your right to free speech, he would like to offer these people legal representation. Quite the noble offer, but never in my wildest dreams would I have thought anyone would take my case against Lucasfilm Disney. Still, I did respond back. I think I qualify, and thousands of people agreed, but I did not expect anything. To my surprise, a few months ago, I received an email from a lawyer who had been hired by X to look into my story and many others. Many others. I hope Carolyn gets justice. Because Embracer Group owned Limited Run Games fired her for simply being excited about Hogwarts Legacy, which went on to become the highest selling game of the year. That is some grade A bullshit, too. I mean, that's bullshit. Turns out after sending them as much info as I could gather these past few months, my now lawyers and X believe wholeheartedly in my case and are moving forward. Yeah, I think she has a case. Again, if they told everybody they had to stay quiet on political issues, and that was the company policy, and it was evenly enforced, I don't think she would have as much of a case. But the fact that her peers, her co-stars, could continue to speak their minds freely, even if they were wrong, like Pedro Pascal was tweeting wrong, so whatever, that tells me that it was clearly very biased. And I think she has a case. I really do think she has a case. As for me, I'd like to pick up where I left off and continue my journey of creating and participating in storytelling, which is my utmost passion and everything I worked so hard for. It's been difficult to move forward with the lies and labels stuck on me, backed and encouraged by the most powerful entertainment company in the world. Wow, right before their earnings call too. This is fun. I'm grateful someone has come to my defense in such a powerful way, and I look forward to clearing my name. Thank you to all the people who have supported me, made your voices heard. I pray God bless each and every one of you. Boom. There it is, guys. This is going to be really, really interesting to see what happens. There have been precedents set, and I feel kind of bad in retrospect for Vic Mignogna, because the situation with Vic Mignogna, I think if it happened more recently, I think it would have been handled differently, but they shot him down hard because, this is, now you have to just kind of go into it like, especially after Johnny Depp. I think the Johnny Depp situation changed everything. And now it's like, oh, okay, sometimes people lie, and sometimes there are smear campaigns, and sometimes people have ulterior motives, and social media is not real. You know what I'm saying? So I think that changed everything. This could be another case that if she is successful, sets a precedent. Now, what might happen, and this is possible too, is they might just settle. They might just be like, well, we'll give her $1 million to shut her up or something. You know what I'm saying? That could happen too. I don't know if she doesn't seem like the type that would shut up. I think it's more about clearing her name because, like I said, the Daily Wire, I guess it's fine if you watch the Daily Wire. I do not watch the Daily Wire. I don't like some of the people on the Daily Wire. I think they're meatheads. That's my personal opinion. But, you know, her mainstream career has been destroyed. Chance at a mainstream career has been destroyed because of Disney. And it could have even been done on the down low, and it wasn't. They had to make a big deal about it. And it's probably some activist intern they have running their social media account, probably the same person that refused to acknowledge James Earl Jones on his birthday. The same kind of person is probably high-fiving Pablo Hidalgo for mocking Star Wars theory for getting emotional over Luke Skywalker, proper Luke Skywalker returning. You know, these people need to be smoked out of that company. I mean, I know George Lucas definitely leans left, or he leaned left, but left in the 1970s versus what it is today, two totally different things. I don't think he would agree with this personally, but you know, he's not in charge anymore. So, as he makes it very clear, like, I'm not in charge. Star Wars, Disney took it and flushed it down the toilet. So anyway, gonna wrap this up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.